What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JP's on the keys, and it's too easy about the video today. And apparently, Epic History just said we gonna continue Napoleon, but from a different perspective. So shout out to Epic History again. They just recently hit 1 million subs, so definitely big shout out to them. Wellington's triumph, Vittoria, 1813. Without further ado, let's just get into it, bruh.
May 1813. While Napoleon's Grande Armée began its fight back in Central Europe following the disastrous invasion of Russia, 1,200 miles away, at the other end of Napoleon's embattled empire, another enemy was poised to strike. The previous year, Wellington's Anglo-Portuguese army had won a brilliant victory at Salamanca, but been held at Burgos and forced into a long, demoralizing retreat back to the Portuguese frontier. But after a winter of rest, reinforcement and training, Wellington's army was stronger than ever. 100,000 men, many of them battle-hardened veterans.
They said minor setback for a major comeback. They came back ready. 100,000 of them ready.
And for the first time, he had sufficient cavalry and artillery, while transport and medical services had also been improved. Morale was sky high. Their chief, known to the troops as Old Nosey, was cheered wherever he went. "I never saw the British army so healthy or so strong," Wellington informed London. In contrast, the French position in Spain was weaker than ever. Napoleon severely underestimated the threat posed by Wellington, and had just withdrawn 20,000 French troops for his own use in Germany. As commander-in-chief, King Joseph knew his forces were overstretched. Napoleon allowed him to give up Madrid and move his capital to the more easily defended Valladolid. But withdrawing further, to a strong position like the Ebro River, was out of the question. That would send the wrong message to neutral Austria and Napoleon's wavering German allies.
Oh, dang, you gotta understand, bro. At this time, Napoleon is center stage in front of the entire world. Because you gotta think, this man literally took Europe to war. This man went to war with almost all of Europe. And now he's just on a global scale. So every move he makes is going to be criticized on a global scale. Because you got to think about how they do LeBron James. Everything he does is a criticism. Just like the people who are at this position where it's like every move you make is being judged. Oh, that shows a sign of weakness. We can't go with him. That shows a sign of weakness. We can't align with him.
And so, with serious concerns, Joseph and his chief of staff, Marshal Jourdan, awaited Wellington's offensive. Wellington's plan was for his army to advance in two wings, concentrate at Toro, then move against Joseph's forces. In the south, Murray's Anglo-Sicilian Spanish force, based in Alicante, had just repelled an attack by Marshal Suchet at the Battle of Castalla. Murray would now mount a diversionary landing on the Mediterranean coast to coincide with Wellington's advance and prevent Suchet sending reinforcements north.
So that would make sense, because now it's like, oh, he's attacked the base behind me, so now I have to go back and defend that base, and now it gives you more room for these two army installations at the bottom to go up, because he's defending the thing, and now he can just, oh, we're just going to flank you from behind you, and now you have to go back and defend your city. At Tarragona, you got to go back and defend your city. So, see this, I just like seeing these like military war tactics go out because it requires so much like pre-planning. Because now, back then it was like, it wasn't all these, you didn't have radar, you didn't have thermal imaging, you couldn't see, you had to really send somebody out to scout, and then it would take them days to get there, and then it would take them days to get back. Like, just think about what they did with the amount of technology they had during this time. It was crazy.
Wellington had also counted on large-scale support from Spanish regular forces, of which he was, since November 1812, theoretically commander-in-chief. But the Spanish Cortes, based in Cadiz, was deeply divided, with many still highly suspicious of British motives. The result was that Wellington would only receive direct support from a few reliable Spanish divisions. Fortunately, he would receive considerable Spanish support from the guerrillas, now better armed, organized, and operating in greater numbers than ever before. A large area of
The guerrillas got nothing to lose. Like, what? Okay, they have a cause, but it's not like they have government status. I mean, I understand why while the Spaniards were kind of like hesitant, because it's like, okay, I understand you're helping us fight against Napoleon, but like you came in here and kind of took over where we have our land, and then you like, I don't know what you really want to do. It's like, are you backhand helping us? Like, I don't know what type of time you on right now.
Valencia had effectively been liberated by El Fraile, the Friar. Esposimina had captured major towns in Navarre and was currently keeping General Clausel's Army of the North busy, while Juan Martín Díaz, aka El Empecinado, was tying down large numbers of French troops near Madrid. On the 22nd of May, Wellington bid farewell to Portugal and began his advance. 4 days later, he was in Salamanca, from where he joined the northern wing of his army under Sir Thomas Graham. Joseph and Jourdan expected Wellington's main thrust to come from Salamanca, so planned to defend the line of the Douro River. But Graham's rapid advance north of the river meant they'd already been outflanked, and they ordered a retreat. By a series of brilliant marches, Wellington continued threatening the French right flank, forcing Joseph to keep falling back.
He basically pushed him back to the river at this point. They might as well just stay in the river. He was going to push him all the way back there already. He said, don't go by the river, and then look what they do. End up at the river.
Wellington's army was able to use small roads and mountain tracks north of the main highway, which the French had dismissed as impassable. But thanks to his Spanish allies, Wellington knew better. Backed by British sea power, he was also now able to switch his supply base from Lisbon to Santander, drastically reducing the length of his supply lines, another feat the French had written off as impossible. At the Ebro River, the French found themselves outflanked yet again, and fell back to Vittoria. Here, Joseph decided that he must make his stand.
You got to. You got to at that point. He done daggone near pushed you back into France. Like you're literally like miles away from France. After you was almost at Portugal, and he pushed you all the way back to France, almost. He pushed you back to the river that Napoleon said, don't go by the river. So, they got the animations out. Okay, hold on. Let's get right. They got the animations. You know how I feel about these animations, bro. They got these out. Oh, it's finna be good.
The Zadorra River valley west of Vittoria seemed to offer a strong defensive position. Expecting an attack from the west, French forces were drawn up in 3 lines. General Gazon's Army of the South formed the first line. Then General d'Erlon's Army of the Centre. Then General Rey's Army of Portugal. Joseph hoped that he could at least buy time for the vast wagon convoy assembled east of the city to get away. It contained not only military supplies, but his government's treasury. And as satirized by this contemporary British cartoon, the accumulated loot of 5 years' French occupation of Spain, including priceless works of art, jewels and antiques.
That man had the mother load. You're carrying, bruh, you're carrying the entire treasury with you. Don't y'all have that in the safe place? Wouldn't you think you would have that in the safe place in the capital of France somewhere? Y'all carrying the entire treasury and all the artifacts and all the materials that you stole from Spain, just with him. Look, oh my goodness, bruh. That man got caught at the worst possible time.
He also expected General Clausel to arrive with 20,000 reinforcements any day. However, thanks to the guerrillas, Wellington was better informed of Clausel's whereabouts than Joseph himself. Knowing that Clausel couldn't reach Joseph before the 22nd of June, he decided to attack on the 21st. The day before, French patrols reported enemy troop movement to the north, so Rey's troops were moved to cover any threat to the army's line of communications. Apart from one division, which left to escort part of the wagon convoy to France. An odd decision that deprived the army of 4,000 men on the eve of battle.
See, I feel like at this point, it's cockiness. I know I'm pausing a lot, I apologize. But it's cockiness, bruh. You literally traveling with treasury, material things you stole, and now you gonna send 4,000 men to guard a convoy when you need those men to help you fight. I'm telling you, man, it went to his head, man. It went to his head.
Marshal Jourdan had been bedridden with fever that day. The next morning, he reconnoitred the army's position with King Joseph. They agreed that their position was overextended and should be shortened. But by the time their orders reached General Gazan, it was too late. He was already under attack. Wellington, enjoying the advantage in numbers for once, had decided to attack in 4 columns across a 10-mile front, with General Graham's left-hand column threatening Joseph's line of retreat. It was a bold plan, with the potential to trap and destroy Joseph's army, but required careful coordination and precise timing. Fortunately, the French had not thought it necessary to destroy any of the bridges over the Zadorra River, which was also fordable in several places.
Are you serious?
At 8 a.m., General Hill's column began its attack on the Allied right. Spanish and British troops advanced up the western heights of Puebla, driving off French skirmishers, and forcing General Gazan to send reinforcements to secure his left flank. Hill's troops then seized the village of Subiana, but French cannon fire and counterattacks prevented any further advance. Convinced that Hill's attack was the main assault, and that troop movements to the north were probably a diversion, Jourdan continued to send troops from the centre to reinforce the left. This was exactly what Wellington wanted, but at 11 a.m. he was waiting with growing impatience for his other columns to go into action. Lord Dalhousie's 7th Division, supposed to be leading the attack by the centre-left column, had got held up in the mountains, while further east, Graham's flanking move had got off to a cautious start. But seeing the size of the approaching force, General Rey decided to pull back his troops across the Zadorra River. This encouraged Graham to get things moving. Colonel Longa's Spanish division advanced on Durana, held by Spanish troops loyal to King Joseph, and a bitter struggle for the village ensued. British and Portuguese infantry advanced against Camara Mayor. They were soon engaged in bloody street fighting with the French. This scene shows an attack by the 4th King's Own Regiment of Foot and the 47th Lancashire Regiment. Though they succeeded in driving the French out of the village, they could not cross its bridge over the Zadorra, which was expertly covered by French guns.
Come on, you rascals, come to fight villains.
Around noon, a Spanish peasant informed Wellington that the bridge at Tres Puentes was completely unguarded. He immediately ordered Kempt's elite light infantry brigade to dash across it and secure a bridgehead. But there was still little sign of Dalhousie's 7th Division. General Picton, the notoriously short-tempered commander of the fighting 3rd Division, ran out of patience. Fed up with waiting for Dalhousie, he ordered his men to advance. They charged across the Mendoza Bridge and a nearby ford, driving back light French defenses. General...
That man picked his head. F it, I'm taking it into my own hands. You're taking too long, bro. He said, forget all this, go. He said, y'all, go. Go. Y'all need to go. I'm tired of waiting. Go. Now, go.
Gazan, with his left flank pinned down at Subiana, was now about to be outflanked on his right, and had no option but to pull back his troops. Wellington's army was now crossing the Zadorra River in force. Heavy fighting continued to rage on the heights of Puebla, but here the French also had to give ground to maintain the cohesion of their new line. Scottish Highlanders and Connaught Rangers, supported by riflemen and Portuguese troops, now stormed the village of Arignez, routing the defenders, who retreated southeast, and a gap began to emerge in the French centre between Gazan's army of the south and D'Erlon's army of the centre. The Allied advance continued, with heavy pressure on both French flanks. Wellington's army appeared to be building unstoppable momentum, with Graham's column poised to cut off Joseph's escape.
Artillery and musketry were heard in one continuous, uninterrupted volume of sound. The fire had become exceedingly violent. Bruh, if you're sitting there, if Joseph is cornered on literally all sides and his escape route is cut off, at that point you just gotta fight. You just gotta shoot whoever is not French. Shoot anybody who's not French at that point. For
By 4 p.m, Wellington's army was formed up across the Zadorra, ready to strike a decisive blow. But his infantry came under heavy fire from 76 French guns, blasting great holes in their ranks. Allied guns were brought forward to provide support. The biggest artillery duel of the Peninsular War began. More than 70 guns on each side. Allied skirmishers, exploiting the gap in the French centre near Gomecha, were able to work their way behind the French guns and shoot down their crews. Gazan found himself threatened on both flanks. But instead of trying to close up with D'Erlon to his north, on his own initiative he ordered a retreat that left D'Erlon's own left flank completely exposed. Around the same time, Longa's Spanish troops finally captured Durana, and rumours swept the French army that their escape route had been cut. D'Erlon's army of the centre fought on bravely, withdrawing to another new defensive line just 1 mile west of Vittoria. French guns kept up a steady fire on the advancing Allied lines, but once more the position was outflanked.
Yo, why did you do? This man was it Gazar? Yo, that's some cold-blooded stuff right there. Y'all know y'all holding up a defensive line. You've been pushed back way further than you've already wanted to, and you know what? He's just like, man, F it, I'm getting out of here. So you're going to retreat and you're going to let the commander your acting commander right there, he got to get flanked from the left side, and while you just steady running. Wow. And you have no escape route because you got troops coming in from your right flank and from in front of you and your left. So there's really nowhere to go but back. They're going to push y'all right back into France.
Around 5:30 p.m., King Joseph bowed to the inevitable and ordered a general retreat. As the main road to France had now been cut by Longa's Spanish troops, the army would have to retreat east towards Pamplona along a single narrow road with boggy fields on either side. Bad enough for thousands of troops and guns, but there had been no attempt to move off the army's enormous convoy of wagons earlier in the day. The result was pandemonium, as military units and artillery tried to force their way through the streets of Vittoria and the congested lanes and fields beyond.
That's some Black Lives Matter protesting. They was looting like they started. They about to start looting all that stuff. What? I would have took some too. What you talking about? They just left a wagon with millions of dollars and French artifacts. I mean, and Spanish artifacts that I could sell. What? And stuff and intel on the French army? Oh, that's a gold mine. What are you talking about?
The task of forming a rear guard fell to General Reis' Army of Portugal, which conducted an organized withdrawal covered by its cavalry. Wellington hoped that Graham's column would now be surging across the Zadorra River to cut off the French army's retreat. But Graham, overestimating the enemy's strength, continued to take a cautious approach. East of Vittoria, the French retreat descended into total chaos. The single narrow road became blocked. Wagons that took to the fields got stuck and were abandoned. Allied cavalry fell upon this confused mass, spreading panic and meeting little serious opposition. King Joseph and Marshal Jourdan themselves narrowly escaped capture. Among the abandoned wagons, many civilians, including officers, wives and children, priceless paintings, jewels and furniture, and more than 5 million gold francs.
Y'all left y'all wives and kids. Oh my goodness. Y'all in such a rush to get out. Sorry, honey. I gotta go. I gotta go. I'll see you sometime.
Troops on both sides broke ranks and dived into an orgy of plundering. One British officer described the scene. About dusk, the head of our column came suddenly on some wagons which had been abandoned by the enemy. Someone called out, "They are money carts!" No sooner were the words uttered than the division broke as if by word of command, and in an instant the covers disappeared from the wagons and nothing was seen but a mass of inverted legs, while the arms were groping for dollars. For money it certainly was. The scene was disgraceful, but at the same time, ludicrous. Wellington, however, was furious. Not only did the plundering delay pursuit of the enemy, but giant sums of cash, which might have paid for his army's supplies, vanished into private pockets instead. Of 5.5 million francs, only 250,000 were ever recovered by the army.
Damn.
Vittoria...
Y'all got less than 1% of the total. Oh my goodness. Y'all... What? Wait. Yeah, that's less than 1%. That's less than 1%. Oh my goodness. Y'all got less than 1% of the money that y'all fought for. Dang, 99% of that money is gone.
Vittoria was a great victory for the coalition. Not as crushing as it might have been, reflected in relatively light French casualties. But in the chaotic retreat that followed, the Allies did capture all but 2 of 153 French guns, and even Jourdan's Marshal's bateau.
You have sent me among the trophies of your unrivaled fame, the baton of a French marshal, and I send you in return that of England. The British Army will hail it with rapturous enthusiasm. Of course, that's like a gold chain. That's a huge artifact. A marshal of the French marshal's baton. That's like taking Indiana Jones's whip. Like, that's the ultimate.
French military power in Iberia was broken. The Bonapartist Kingdom of Spain was at an end. Joseph returned to France to face his brother's criticism. Marshal Jourdan retired from active service. Napoleon sent Marshal Soult to replace them, but even his shrewd military mind could not turn the tide in Spain. Counterattacks to relieve the French garrisons at Pamplona and San Sebastian were defeated. That autumn, Wellington began what proved an unstoppable advance across the Pyrenees and into France. In southern Spain, where Marshal Suchet remained undefeated, the disaster at Vittoria forced him also to withdraw towards the frontier, leaving behind just a few isolated garrisons. After a bitter 5-year struggle, the Allies had brought the Peninsular War, to the Spanish their War of Independence, to a victorious conclusion. It had been a long, hard road, steeped in blood and suffering. The alliance between Britain and Spain had been particularly treacherous to navigate. But ultimately, both nations had fought together with Portugal to drive the French back across the Pyrenees. New research provides a clearer insight than ever into the huge attrition of French manpower in Iberia. An estimated total of 260,000 lives lost. 3/4 died of sickness. Of approximately 66,000 deaths from combat, 43% were in actions against Spanish regular forces, 38% fighting British-led armies, and 19% fighting guerrillas. By contrast, British military deaths are estimated at 52,000, Portuguese 15,000, with many more thousands of civilian deaths, while Spanish deaths are unknown, though the country as a whole may have lost as many as 500,000 lives in 5 years of war and occupation. For Napoleon, this disaster had been an unnecessary and largely self-inflicted wound, an intervention born of arrogance and false assumptions, with dire strategic consequences. But as the Napoleonic Empire crumbled in Spain, an even greater struggle neared its climax in Central Europe, where Napoleon faced the most powerful coalition of his enemies yet. If the French Emperor was victorious in Germany, Wellington might soon be scrambling back across the Pyrenees. The fate of Europe was about to be decided at the Battle of Leipzig.
But yeah, man, imagine owning, they was at Salamanca, right? They got pushed back. They were in Salamanca. Then they got pushed all the way back from Salamanca down when they were halfway across the country to Vittoria. Then they got pushed out of Vittoria. Then they went to Pamplona. Then they just pushed you out. How do you go from... Bro, they literally kicked you out of the country. They just kicked you and slammed the door on you on the way out. Wow. But that was... I like seeing it from another perspective, you know what I'm saying? Because that Napoleon series was fire. I can't cap. But anyway, thank you again for watching this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Also, turn on my post notifications. Hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Don't forget to... I just said again, don't forget to turn on my post notifications. I'll tell you again. But anyway, thank you again. Please be safe Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.